Jotun is a game that is denoted by its difficulty, or at least by some people. For me, it is not the challenge that is Jotun's primary facet that I see. What I see as a game is a thing of beauty, Norse mythology, and a journey of insurmountable odds, and overcoming those odds through tactics, skill, and a bit of luck. Since my first Games Forgotten video, I have improved in both quality and production time. This episode will, hopefully, have some more info about the game, why is it good, and perhaps some speculation at the end of the video as to why it was moved to the wayside and buried under the mountains of new releases. So without any further ado, let's get into the general overview. Jotun is a game about well-timed hits comboed with special powers to give you a leg up. These powers are unlocked by exploration of the levels before a boss fight, with each power that is unlocked corresponding to the boss that you will later fight. But don't worry, because you are able to backtrack to any level if you missed anything, then you want to go back and collect it. This applies as well as to the bosses themselves. You see, the game is more about perfectionism than anything else. The story will come first when you first play through, but after that it is about collecting and the achievement of not getting hit, as well as not using your god powers is what they call them. You see, this is why they added a mode called Valhalla mode. This mode is generally unlocked for the bosses only, and they're also somewhat harder than the original bosses were to give you more challenge and give you more playtime in the game. Speaking of bosses, for this game, the boss fights are the main need of the game, with the levels before the boss only being an introduction to the mechanics and themes that the main honcho will be using against you. And this is why I truly think that this game deserves more attention in the public, not because of its beautiful simplistic art style, its approach to combat and lore just oozing out of every orifice and pore. No, that's not that, though it does help get on this series pretty nicely. No, it's not any of that. It's the way they approach bosses. Every boss fight is unique and more often than not do not share any attacks. They are telegraphed, and the only thing that is holding you back is your skill level in learning their attack patterns. And on an unrelated note, lore. This game has a lot of it. The developers even went as far as to make the player characters speak in their native tongue, which I think is Gaelic, but I'm not sure. This also means that the persons that speak to you is in Norse as well, and it's also subtitled, which is really the only negative thing that I got to me, because reading... But this also means that with such a commitment to the source material, you're basically getting a full lesson on Norse mythology, all while playing a fairly good game. That's a bonus points in my book. Though if I was perfectly honest, I would say I don't really want to talk much about this game, mostly because I want you to experience it without knowing what's going to happen. But what I can say is that there are 5 functional bosses and 1 final boss. Each of them have their own unique mechanics, and I did really enjoy this game. Even though it only took me like 5 hours to complete, it was still worthwhile in the long run. And now we've come to the last part of the video, the speculation on why I think this game became forgotten. And here's a little editor's note for you. This section is mostly pure speculation, but it's informed enough to put me a confident speaking mind about it. So keep that in mind. That's just my opinion. Anyways, on with the show. The reason why I think the game was forgotten is no longer talked about is a twofold reason. One, it's a single-player, innately difficult isometric game that can be completed in as little as 5 hours. I know, I don't really mind gamings being this short, but some people do, and that's a negative for them, so you have to keep that in mind. And the second one is a little bit more semantics, but I think it's worthwhile discussing. It's its release date.
Roll the clip, mate!
So yeah, that is why I think this game was forgotten, mainly because of its release date. This does not mean that Jotun failed by any means. 2 million copies sold is no failure, unless you're Activision anyways. And on that note, I leave, and as always, thanks for watching.